Hey, what's up everyone? Sean here, and welcome to another new video. Now, I wanted to discuss and kind of talk about in this one how this is not really about mental health, it's more about how, more like about relaxation and kind of mental, not even awareness, but more like mental, like release of stress and all that kind of, and it's a big area, and I'm not talking about like therapy or anything like that. It's a different version of therapy, I guess, or a different lighter version of it, but anyway, so, and the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because, and I'll get into like the meat and potatoes here in a minute, but the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because pretty much every day of my life, we all have stress in every everyday life. That's just, part of being an adult, or any age for that matter. But one thing that I think is cool and interesting is how much technology has really kind of helped in really unique ways to kind of help us deal with daily like monetary stress of just in the moment. And what I mean by that even more so is how like for me, for example, I watch a lot of like hours and hours a day sometimes of YouTube relaxation videos. So like just things like walking through the park, or just like stuff where it's like just videos of like of relaxing music put out in the with the video of like downtown cities, like a time lapse and things like that. That's what kind of helps me relax at the end of the night when I'm trying to just kind of just de-stress for a few hours before I go to bed. And some people use apps as far as like on their phone, with nature sounds and things like that. So again, we all have different various forms of uniquely chosen, I should say, apps or videos or sounds, even just that relax us naturally. And it's funny because I think it's one of the best things about modern technology, whether it's YouTube, like providing countless and infinite hours of content like that, or an application or an app on our phone, or whatever device we're using, whether we're reading about it or reading someone else's opinion about it on like a book or an author, and just to whatever you need, like there's stuff that's out there to help us out with daily stress, to relieve it or kind of soften it up a little bit and manage it better. And because for me, like the majority of my day, like at least like Monday through Friday, is pretty much planned out these days, or it has been for a couple of years since my kids were born. Where basically like I know pretty much overall how my days are gonna go, and then it's just a matter of dealing with stuff every single day, as far as waking up on time, and getting them ready for whatever they have to deal with, and then working my day job, and then getting everything ready for dinner and bedtime, and it's kind of a repeat process, repeat operation, repeat daily cycle, with a few every now and then random things thrown in there in the evening for different events, and whether if we're going to go to a movie or whatever else it might be. You get the idea. So for me, it's nice to have the time at the end of the day where it's usually for 2 or 3 or 4 hours, where I can pretty much just, I don't say just sit there, but it's a time of the day where I can sit down and relax. And some of us read, again, like I said before, and just relax and just let the day kind of just go. Not, I don't say go away, but just let the day kind of end on its own, where it's like you kind of let go. And I personally myself, I'm a nighttime, I'm an evening, like a night person. I'm a night owl. I've been that way forever. Some people do it in the morning, some people do it in the middle of the day, some people do meditation or yoga or whatever else they want to do. Some people work out like crazy, and that's how they get into that mindset of relaxation. Again, everyone has different things, but again, the whole point of what I'm trying to say, and why I think it's really, really, really important that we all find our own version of it, no matter what age you are, is because of how thankfully easy it is for access now, more than ever has been in our lifetimes, to not only find access to whatever helps you through things and use it daily, or nightly, or whatever it is best for you in your lifestyle, but just how nice it is to have that access. Because I remember as a kid, for one thing, the whole, not to like go back to like behavioral health, but because I think it's a separate issue than stress relief in a sense. But when I was a kid, and when I got into my first kind of like real experiences with stress, whether it was like middle school or high school, like studying for a test, or getting my first job and having to be on time for a job, and learn how to do things, all that kind of stuff. Like that didn't really exist. It was more like, I always remember it as like the way my parents put it or explained it to me as a kid. It was like, oh, that's how life goes. Things just get harder. You get more responsibility. That's just the way it is. And which isn't wrong, I would say, from explaining how like how it, older you get, how just stress becomes a natural part of life, and a natural way of like dealing with it, or just it just becomes more and more of a thing based on more responsibilities, and when bills start to become due, like all that stuff. But again, the idea is that, again, when I was a kid, I don't think that things like that existed like that we have now. Like, we didn't have an app to go to just listen to nature sounds. We didn't have YouTube, like, where I can go to YouTube for, again, for infinite hours of pretty much finding whatever sound, or hours of a sound, or hours of a location anywhere in the world, or a place, or whatever, either with relaxing music on it, on footage of it, or the actual, like, someone walking through, or self-experiencing that place, recording it and putting it on YouTube in the best quality possible, and then I can have, again, infinite hours of that kind of material and content to listen to and relax to, and just whatever. And it's funny too, because even my kids now, they enjoy those videos on their own in a way. Like, they'll, like, some days they'll ask for them in some ways, because it's a way for them to kind of have on background noise, which is primarily what I use it for most of the time, is background noise, to have something on rather than quiet. However, I'll get to them, because I think quiet and just having quiet time is equally as important than background noise or having some kind of stimulation in the background. But I do want to stress the effect and the emotion and the stress relief that having things like this, that we all, again, having access to a thing in our lives, and we're all different in how we perceive it and how we use it and what we use for it, but how important and really necessary and necessity, much of a necessity that is for each of us. Because without that, I think that we'd all go a lot more short-tempered, or deal with stress way in a way worse thing in many ways. And, like, even for me, if, like, for my job, it's like that, if I didn't have the ability to kind of, like, again, at the end of the day, after my kids are asleep, and I don't have to think about anything anymore for the night, for that day, for the most part. I don't have to worry about anything else for the day. It's all done, and I have that 4 to 5 hours, whatever it might be, of time to just sit there and just kind of whatever, you know what I mean? And so some people watch movies and do TV shows, and again, everyone's different. But I think that it's great that we have all this technology now, or the ability to, again, find infinite hours of stuff like this, and that there's so much of it in infinite forms to help us through all that stuff. Now, on the other hand, I also think it's very, very, very important to have quiet time. And what I mean by that is, because my kids hate it right now, honestly, and that's why I think it's an important thing, because I love it at certain times, where I also personally believe that there is so much noise, so much distraction, so much constant, again, noise and noise fatigue in the world. And I'm not talking about necessarily like an overuse of technology, or anything with, like, YouTube, or TikTok, or anything like that, even, or just nothing like that. That's not what I mean. I'm saying that there's so much stuff out there that, like, life has definitely sped up a ton over the last 20 years, at least in my opinion, it has, for just daily life, and how, like, quickly things go. And so even as important as having, content to go to do that stress relief, I also think it's very, very equally important to shut everything off, and to have no screens, for one thing. And I'm not talking about parenting, just life, and no matter what age you are. But I think it's very, very important to shut everything down, and to have time where you're just not, where you don't have noise. And again, for me, that's at night. Some people, it's in the morning before the sun even comes up, or whatever, when they have nothing else on the agenda, or no emails, no music, whatever, you know what I mean? Just things where it's just, where it can be quiet. And so I think that it's a very, very important thing to have kind of an equal amount of both of those things, where you have both the stress relief stuff that you can find to when you're having a rough day, or whatever moment or emotion you're feeling at that point in time. Usually, or hopefully, you can find out, or you can discover something new, I guess, in some cases, a an area, or a thing of content to pull you out of that in a way, or help you get through it. Because again, I'm a very, very firm believer. This is me, but I'm a very firm believer that feeling sad or feeling emotions is a good thing. So many people these days try and push out or push away feeling sad or feeling emotional, or whatever you want to call it, and just don't think it's a negative thing. I don't think that, because when I was a kid, when I was a kid, like, 11 years old, that's when my dad passed away, and I was literally forced by, a therapist back then. And I'm not talking about therapy, but overall, but I was forced at that time to deal with things that didn't make me feel good, or dealing with the emotion where I was confused and about my emotions, and how to deal with them in that moment. And eventually, like, I don't want to say you find an escape, but you find a way to work through it. you find a way to just kind of, how do I say it? You find a way to find more positivity out there. It can take time. It can take, hopefully not too long, but it can take like months and years in some cases for many people. It all depends on what the situation is and when it happened and where you were at in life when it happens. So like I'm not necessarily talking about therapy, but I think the idea of having a quiet time or quiet times in moments to have nothing else be a distraction for you, to where you can just think about yourself and be with your emotions is also very important. And the best way I can explain this even more is how there's like, even with my kids especially, where they're very, right now at least, they're very I don't say, what's the right word for it? They're very, they seem to be in a very constant need of having visual stimulation I think is the right word for it, where they have to have something in their face or in front of them that they're watching or doing or whatever to not be bored, essentially. And I've been trying to break that as a parent, and I'm not trying to make this into a parenting video in any way, so I'm not going too far into that. But what I will say about it though is that I feel like very, very confident, or I should say I'm very a firm believer in the idea that everyone needs to turn everything off every now and then and just not be on something, including myself, as hard as that might be sometimes. But just to where you can turn everything off, and whether and just be in your own head, because a lot of people, including myself, sometimes it's a very, very scary place to be, or just you don't want to be in that place emotionally or mentally, and some people never ever deal with that and hold things inside for years or decades, which is also very, very unhealthy. Again, I'm not a therapist. I'm not anything like that. I have nothing official to talk about that for that part of it. It's just my feelings on it. So take it for what you will. But again, my whole point of this video is that I think it's really, really rad and really cool that we have technology, whether it's videos, an app, or whatever it might be, to get us through those times where we can start to relax ourselves and get out of stress. Again, but also have the times where we can turn it all off and be with it within ourselves. And then again, some people call that meditation. Some people call it, doing yoga, where you have nothing else. You're within your own brain. Because shockingly, I don't know if people agree or disagree with this, but shockingly, you'd be surprised how much not having anything in front of you will actually stimulate your brain to think through things, and you don't even realize it. And the best example of this I can give is that about a week and a half ago, I was at a park with my kids. They were playing in the park, and I didn't have my phone even on me. It just wasn't on me, and I was sitting there just enjoying being outside, honestly, which I need to do more of anyways as an adult. But I was just sitting at the park, watching them play. Didn't have my phone on me, and just enjoying the air, honestly, and enjoying it, a sunny day. And in that probably 2 hours of time frame that I had by myself, honestly, was some of the most refreshing and unique and kind of liberating time that I had for a long time, sadly, because I didn't I couldn't do anything else. I had to be there with myself, and again, it's all a matter of perspective, and we all deal with it individually. And again, even myself, like I'm guilty of it as much as I'm preaching it to you guys or advising on it or wishing it to people to try it out or continue to use it, whatever you want to say about it. But again, I think it's a very, very good thing to have both of those mediums and have it be kind of equal, where you have again a stress relief thing that you can get through things with if you need to, but also shutting everything off, put everything away, and just having it be silence. And I think it's very, very important to have both of those things, because they're both equally important to be to continue to have some kind of good, somewhat healthy, hopefully, mental health. And again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not advising anyone to do anything, but I just think it's a cool and very rad thing that we have the technology nowadays, which is why I made this into a video, that we can do that. We can find content about this stuff pretty, either free or very easily, and we can hopefully better ourselves for it. Because that's what the whole point of it all is to better ourselves for it all, and to think better and think more clearly. So, with all that being said, hopefully you guys, enjoyed this video a little bit. It's a little bit of a different video than I was planning on ever doing, because I'm not one. I don't want to take on like advisement on what to tell anyone to do. My whole thing for this whole channel was to talk about cool tech stuff that has been a very a large impact on human life in the last 30, 40 years, or in the future of what's going to happen or what I think will happen. But I had to recognize and really call out the fact that I appreciate technology for how much of an impact it has on our mental health these days, or just happiness or emotions, whatever you want to call it, and how it does impact if you choose to search out and discover things like that that will help you through things. It can be done. So again, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Of course, subscribe for more tech contents of various formats, obviously. But otherwise, thanks for watching as always, and I will see you all in the next one.